All right, welcome everybody back to What I Wish You Knew About Your Wedding. Today, we are going to be focusing on timelines. We get a lot of questions about timelines. And for some reason, there's a lot of different opinions about this. But with our combined over 20 plus years experience and over 2,000 probably weddings, I don't know, whatever it's been, crazy. It's wild how like people have like just it seems like there's so much information out there, right?
Right.
But because we do so many weddings and because we're doing weddings literally every week, every weekend, like all year long, we have a way we prefer to do things.
Yeah.
So I'll walk through a 5-hour wedding, pretty standard, a timeline. And then if you think I'm off, just let me know. So I'm just going to give it to everybody right off the bat.
Go for it.
This is what it is. So let's say we're starting at 5 o'clock. Okay. We're starting at 5 p.m. That's ceremony. Ceremony, we give 30 minutes. Now we're at 5:30. Okay. Hour for cocktail hour. So 6:30, grand entrance.
Yeah.
Okay. We do grand entrance.
First dance.
Meal service, they typically will give an hour depending on guest count. So now we're at 7:30. After dinner, we're going to do the speeches. We're going to do the parent dances, cake cutting, bouquet, etc. We're at 8 p.m. approximately, right? And then we have somewhere roughly between around 2 hours of open dancing. Like that's a standard,
pretty standard, yeah,
5-hour wedding timeline, and it goes in that order. So let me go back through that. Ceremony, the cocktail hour, grand entrance,
first dance,
dinner, speeches, parent dances, cake cutting, bouquet, garter, sometimes a money dance.
Not so often lately, but yeah.
Yeah, so
less on that one.
So that's the standard. Right. That's what we do. It's and there is reasons why we do that. I'll give some insight and then you let me know like what else you think. So first of all, a lot of people think in their minds, because they've never gotten married before, like, oh, if ceremony's at 5 o'clock, we start at 5 o'clock.
Right.
What's been your typical experience?
Usually things don't start on time.
Yeah.
So sometimes things start like 30 minutes late, or I mean, that's about average, about 30 minutes late. So it really ends up starting at like 5:30. That's about normal. And that could be for various reasons, like people not being ready, people not showing up on time, like whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Not enough guests, so they don't want to start with just a few amount of guests, whatever it is. So
yeah.
Usually starts later. It's
interesting because for all the times in 17 years of being a wedding DJ and running ceremony, I think out of all those times, only like 3 times, like when they said hard start, we're gonna start
right on
we are
time.
Gonna start at 5.
Yeah,
it's only happened like
regardless
3 times.
If anyone's there or not,
yeah. Like we don't care.
Maybe once, yeah.
Like I've only seen it 3 times in all the weddings I've ever done, like
right.
all the history of every single wedding I've done. So I think it's important that couples know like your start time, like even with the entire timeline, it's more like a guideline. Like we want to try and stick to that.
It's a guideline, exactly.
But don't let it mess with you if things like if ceremony doesn't start on time.
Right.
There's ways to if you have a good vendor team, we can catch up. We'll talk about that. So, ceremony, I agree. Minimum, always starting at least 10, 15, sometimes 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
But people shouldn't get stressed about that. I don't think they should. They do. But also, I think it's important that couples either know or ask the venue, like, what their kind of standards or rules are, because most of the venues we work at, regardless of where it is, whether it's Arizona, Santa Barbara, Nevada, it doesn't matter where, all the venues we've done, I've ever done, they're looking for 50% guest count. So if you're expecting 100 guests, they want at least 50 people to be there. Has that been your experience
That's
too?
about right. Yeah, that's typical. So that's typically what ends up the biggest delay is just guests not arriving on
Right.
time. I've seen a lot of people try to circumvent that by telling people to arrive even earlier than the start time. So instead of saying it starts at 5, they'll say, "Oh, the ceremony starts at 4," and then people actually show up around 5 and stuff.
Correct. So yeah, sometimes it is an advantage to tell your guests to arrive way earlier, but then I'm not going to go too deep into it, but then make sure there's a place for the guests to be.
Yes, make sure
some venues
outside
will not let them come in. The space isn't set up.
Right.
Photographers haven't and videographers haven't gotten their room shots yet. So like,
yeah, they can't go in the reception room and all that.
I would mention, just a quick mention, like be careful about telling your guests to get there too early, because there may be nowhere for them to go, nothing for them to do, and then they gotta just hang out in the parking lot. So it can be an inconvenience. Yeah. Okay. So we got that. So ceremony, it's not starting at 5 o'clock. But it's going to start maybe 5:15, 5:20, whatever, a little bit late. So we get past that. Now we're going into photos during cocktail hour. The couple's going to go off. They're going to take photos. That's what you're going to do.
Right.
Got your shot list. You're working with your photographer, videographer, whatever you're doing. Boom, boom, boom. Typically, I find this goes one of two ways. Either they finish early or they go over. What have you experienced?
I almost never see them finish early. It's almost always either on time or going over.
On time or longer for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because, they get the immediate family photos. And then that's one of the hardest things too, is like immediate family. Sometimes right after ceremony, they'll run off, they'll go to the bathroom.
Yeah, take off.
It's trying to wrangle everyone back. So that's kind of what kind of delays it a little bit, I think. But I've never, that's a lie. No, I have seen it. And early, usually when they cut that stuff out, when they cut out the family photos and they cut out specific photos that other people may get. If they take minimal photos, then yeah, I guess you're right. But
I mean, it's rare. It's rare that it ends. They're done early, but sometimes it's yeah. They'll just, like, the coordinator will come and be like, "Hey, they're already done." And I'm like,
yeah,
okay. And then so like they're just kind of waiting in the bridal suite for the grand entrance, which I would also say, if you are someone who finishes photos early, there's this weird like thing. I think that people feel like, oh, we have to hide away.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is, if you're done with photos, join your cocktail hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me.
I agree.
I think there's this weird stigma created by the wedding industry. Like, no, you don't go into the room until it's cocktail hour. Like, they can't see you yet. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, enjoy your time.
You should.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Especially if you pick like the music for that time.
Oh yeah, when they make a playlist, like they miss all that music. Yeah, they miss all of it.
You're never in the room.
And so you get you could get some bonus time if you can wrap those photos up early.
Right.
Or especially if you're taking some photos before ceremony, you're doing like pre-ceremony photos. Like, you may not need that entire cocktail hour to take photos. So
that's true.
I would say just get in there, enjoy your cocktail hour with your guests. Who cares? Yeah. Okay. So now we're getting to grand entrance. Now, this is interesting because if we started ceremony 15, 20 minutes late, they can cut down cocktail hour. That's what I'm used to. Pretty much, instead of doing a full hour, they'll run 40, 45 minutes, as long as photos can finish in time.
Right. That's true.
So there is an opportunity to catch up there. But we're going to do grand entrance. Now, with grand entrance, the thing that we know can delay grand entrance is who you have involved. And we will do a whole separate episode on just grand entrance.
Right.
But let's go into this. The biggest problem we have with grand entrance is when we have like the parents, the kids, the bridal party, the bride and groom. Like, these people are all over the place.
Too many people. Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, having too many people definitely makes it harder. Yeah, especially if they've been drinking throughout the cocktail hour, because then they have to go to the bathroom, or they're at the bar and then they're not paying attention. So then, the coordinator or the DJs would have to make announcements, and you might get some coming out, and then the other ones will leave. So it's, the more people you have, the harder it is to kind of get everyone organized.
Yeah. So all that to say is, don't expect grand entrance to be on time either.
Depending how many you have. Yeah.
I've had everything from people being, like you said, being in the bathroom. Like I had one time they called a groomsman. He went out to go buy a pack of cigarettes. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, you know,
Seen
why?
that.
Why is this the time to do that?
Yeah.
So it's like we got to wait. We had to delay grand entrance by like 15 minutes because this, you know, this groomsman went down the street to go buy a pack of cigarettes. So
Right.
weird stuff can happen. So
Right.
again, just have your mindset that grand entrance isn't necessarily going to happen on time. All right, so we do grand entrance, then we're going to go into first dance.
Yeah.
And and this is important. This is an important part about the order of events. And this is why. You can tell me what you think, but what I tell people is the really like super important events, you want to do it while you have everyone's attention. Like before we do grand entrance, we make everybody sit down and say, let's have your attention to whatever entrance everyone's coming in through, or if it's just the couple. And then, but everyone's there, almost 99%. Maybe there's a couple people that whatever wandered off and we can't do anything about that. But we have everybody sitting down waiting for this portion. So when you come in, we have almost 100% capacity of your guests, whoever's there. And that's why we go into the first dance, because we can't predict what will happen through meal service or after meal service. Some people take off super early.
Right. Some people eat and dash.
They eat and dash. So they watch the ceremony, they brought the card or the gift, they dropped it off, they ate, they're ready to go.
Right.
Like, so I would say, you could tell me your numbers. I would say, like, on average, after meal service, I feel like we lose from anywhere from like 1 to like 3% of people.
I would say so. Yeah.
Right off the bat.
That's about right. That's been my
1 to
experience
3%
almost every time.
Yeah. Someone's got to go.
Someone leaves. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the people who have kids or they have to catch a flight, or I don't know, they have to be at work early. So like it's and that doesn't sound like a lot, but still, like, this is why we want to do the first dance right away.
Right.
Really important. Then after the meal service, as meal service is ending, people are starting to kind of like, maybe the photo booth is open.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an extra vendor, whatever, there's stuff going on. So now meal service, let's just touch on what can happen there. There's the main delays that can happen with meal service. And again, whatever time is allotted, just forget about it, because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes there's delays with the food being ready.
Right.
Sometimes the catering got there late. Just something with the food.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I've also seen where the couple like waits almost the entire meal service, and then nobody knew that they wanted to do table visits.
Right. No one knew that they wanted to go and.
Right. So now it's like you're telling them like, hey, it's time to do the speeches.
Yeah.
We're done with meal service. Everybody's poured up. But they're like, oh, we thought we'd have time to go around to the tables. And it's like, okay, well, that wasn't on the timeline.
Yeah.
Coordinator didn't tell me. You didn't tell me. I didn't have that. But that's fine.
Yeah.
But this can eat up time.
Right.
And this is so interesting to me that like people, you know, it's like, no, your timeline is, you know, just a guideline. What other things have you seen extend or delay getting to the next thing after meal service?
After the meal service, because that would be first dance, then meal service, and then almost every time it's going to be speeches. So other things that delay speeches is just like grand entrance having too many people speaking.
Right.
So then maybe they're not all in the room.
To start.
Right.
After meal. Yeah, we're waiting. Like, we don't know.
Waiting.
Yeah, they left. We don't know where they are.
Right. So that might delay things too. So then we're in an extended meal service,
yes.
You know, waiting a little longer.
Happens almost every time.
Almost every time.
Something will extend the meal service.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other examples. But I know that too, sometimes I'm waiting on the banquet staff to pour everybody.
That's another one. Yeah.
It's time, but we're not poured up.
Right.
Another random thing that can happen, I don't know if it's happened to you, the vendors, photography, videography are still eating.
I've seen that too. Another one, maybe I've seen where the bride and groom, the couples, they don't eat themselves. Like, they'll go do the table
Right.
visits first. And then they'll go, if they might have like 20 tables, they'll go to each one and have like at least a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah, they got
with
like
each
200
one.
people there.
Right.
To talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
they
then-
talk to everybody, take some photos, and then they go back to their table, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to eat first before we do anything."
Yeah,
next."
it happens all the time too. They
Yeah.
just, I think people just think that they have more time in that meal service period
Right.
than they do. And then there's so many other things we could talk about that could delay this specifically this portion.
Right.
To me is the one that definitely gets delayed the most.
Yeah.
Like,
if anything,
far.
it's like the majority of the event for
Yeah.
in some
it's
cases.
a huge chunk.
It's a huge chunk. It's
Yeah.
meal service and open dancing
Yeah,
are like the
it's-
two biggest chunks.
Dinner is almost never 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Almost never.
Almost never.
And it
It's usually
almost
long.
never starts on time because ceremony started late, grand entrance started late, so everything got already pushed back by 30 minutes. Typically, we're running 30 minutes behind.
Right.
And then when the meal service gets extended, we're cutting into the end, which is the open dance time.
Right.
So we have the speeches. Now we're into the speeches. We're 30 minutes behind, typically 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Sometimes we catch up, but most of the time we're still some level of time behind, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. But so we do the speeches. That once we get that going, that's pretty standard. Hopefully everybody has written speeches and they're holding it to like only a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Have we seen people rant for 9 minutes, 10 minutes?
Absolutely.
Be drunk and yeah.
Yeah.
So a whole nother podcast, but
yeah,
on
it's a whole nother
speeches,
episode.
we'll do it. We'll get through that at another time. But yeah, speeches they do go through, and there's some small things that can make that go long.
On average, how long do you think speeches are for?
Well, it's like
average?
2 minutes, 3 minutes per person on average. So if you have the we know what the standard is. It's just best man, maid of honor, and a thank you speech by the couple.
Typically
3, and so we're doing that's 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but if the speeches aren't written, unscripted, someone's too drunk, we've seen it go longer than that.
Yeah, even
with just 2 people. When you have 4 or 5, 6, 7. It gets dicier. It gets even more unpredictable.
Right.
We could be in running 20, 30 minutes.
Yes.
But yet on the timeline, there's only 10, 15 minutes slated for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we get through speeches, right? And then once we get through speeches, we're going into parent dances. So with the parent dances, I don't typically find anything that really delays that.
Cut.
Go ahead and start that little session over right there where you were at.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You're good, bro.
Just how far back? We got to roll back.
Parent dances.
Okay.
You guys started that.
Okay.
I think so, right?
Yeah. Why? What? Okay. So
I
parent.
just wanted to put something out there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Parent dances.
So, after the speeches, the next thing we have is the parent dances.
Right.
Now, parent dances typically we're doing. If people are wondering, it's like a minute and a half with each parent. So that's usually bride and father, and then groom and mom. That's it. And those are a minute and a half max each, usually. And I mean, sometimes we can see delays here, and that is the parent is not in the room.
Not ready. Yeah.
Nervous. I mean, I it's a small percentage of the time, but typically I would say parent dances are kind of stay in their window.
Yeah.
You leave, they give 10 minutes on the timeline for the 2 dances. We're usually okay with that.
Kind of like what you said with the grand entrance right into first dance to have everyone there. That's typically what I try to do with speeches. I try to go right into the parent dances before anybody can leave, So that's what I try to do to minimize that, but not everyone will do that.
Right. Not everyone will do that. But again, so I mean, you're touching back on why. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So after meal service, we do get everyone seated for the speeches. And again, like you're saying, that's why that's important to do the parent dances right after the speeches.
Right.
I think that's what you're alluding to. And yeah, so just to touch back on that that's why we do that, because again, we have almost full capacity, almost 100% of your guests seated back down.
Right.
They listen to the speeches. We maintain their attention. We get the parent dances done.
Right.
Because once we get past the parent dances, this is again where it gets dicey a little bit. Cake cutting.
Right.
Some people want to get up and come and take their own pictures and video.
Right.
And then once, if people were just watch crowds at a wedding like we do, because we have like we get to see everything happening
from where we're at. Yeah.
We know once people start getting up, and they're no longer required to be in their seats, like it's like opening up a door for, and everybody thinks like, oh, we can all just get up and do whatever now, like free time. Go to the bar, go to the bathroom, but we still have more stuff to do.
Right.
But we don't want to like hold everybody down too much. And the next events we're going to do are kind of fun, and we are going to ask people to get out of their seats anyways. So we do cake cutting. Now we're going to do bouquet toss. We have a whole episode on bouquet toss before this. So so go watch the bouquet toss episode and you can find out what delays that, right? But there are minimal delays that can happen with that. We've seen it delayed for like up to 10 minutes, but let's hope people go watch that episode and learn why that happens. But so bouquet toss max, even with issues, will take 10 minutes.
Right.
And then and we do that. Then we're doing the garter removal and toss. We'll have probably not a whole episode on that, so I'll just go into that a little bit, and that is that have the garter ready. Just have it.
Yes. that's another huge delay. So many times I've gotten in the habit of asking, like, have the garter.
You have the garter.
I have it in the bridal suite.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's at home. Okay.
Oh, it's at home. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just take this out then. Like, let's not do that. You know, have I, gone into the back and stapled some ribbon together and whatever, whole thing. But so the garter, let's just make sure we have it and we have it with us.
Yeah.
Or it's already on.
Whatever device you're throwing in that moment.
Yeah, or whatever you're throwing. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is you're going to do for the garter toss. If it's not a traditional garter toss, which again,
just like the bouquet.
Yeah, if it's not traditional, let's have that.
Have it ready.
So, so we could have some small delays there, standard, typical, and then we might have a money dance or honeymoon dance or dollar dance. Those are all names for the same thing, by the way, for those watching and don't know. And it's funny, people think that's culturally specific, but we see it for all cultures.
Almost everyone does it.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah. And that's dependent upon guest count, how long that's going to take.
Exactly.
People think it's a fixed amount of time. It's like, no. It's like, what is your guest count? Do we need 3 songs? Do we need 5 songs? Do we need 7 songs? Because typically we're doing the money dance until there's no line. So the most I've ever played is 7 songs.
I've gotten through 15 before.
15.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
15 songs.
But they didn't even have a big guest count. It's just a lot of times during the money dance, another thing that might delay it, make it longer, is those one-on-one dances with their guests will turn into conversations,
sometimes
catching up, so that takes time. So I've seen people dance an entire song with just one person and then move on to the next. So I've seen that happen.
Wow. I don't think I've seen that specifically. I mean, maybe it's happened. I just didn't notice, but 15. Wow. Yeah. That would be a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're looking at least like 20 minutes, at least for 15 songs to play. So we have that. And then now we're going to get into the open dance, right? Now, open dancing is the next biggest part.
Yes.
But if you have all these delays, and I really want people to understand this, like your open dance, if open dancing is important to you, then it's even more important that you, your guests, your vendors are on point so we can stay on time. Like if there's no importance stressed on that, and especially if you don't have a day of coordinator, like it's on you. Like, and if your friend is day of coordinating, like it's important that they really help and watch the time, but usually they end up enjoying themselves so much that like
they're not paying attention.
No one's watching.
Right.
So the last the last thing you want to do is get to the end of the night and there's no open dance time, or there's 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Especially now, if dancing isn't important to you, forget about it.
Right.
Like, don't worry about it. Just let your wedding go wild, let your timeline just run out. Who cares?
Yeah.
We have weddings where there is no dancing at the end, so that time is not important.
Yeah.
Um,
Becomes like a second meal
yeah.
service mingling.
right.
Yeah.
And then, so that's your basic timeline, and that's the standard things that can happen that will delay things. You know, and then, so even in a 5-hour wedding, if you're scheduled for 2 hours of dance, realistically, we're usually ending up with an hour and 15 to an hour and a half, somewhere in there with standard delays.
Right.
If we have extreme delays, we're only going to have an hour for open dance.
Right.
And if things get even worse, I'm sure you've had it, right? 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Yeah. That's all you get.
And that is, I think it's really important that I stress to anybody watching that some of this is absolutely not in anyone's control. Like,
right.
No one can control like all of it. Like, these things happen all the time, but usually not all of them.
Right.
But it's you're bound to experience something like this on your wedding day. And you know, if you've had a perfect wedding and everything went on time, that's amazing. But it's probably because they put a lot of effort into making sure that everybody understood like how important it was to stay on time.
Right.
I have had weddings go on time, but it's just rare. It's just rare.
Very rare.
That everything goes on time.
Like right down.
And I'm talking about no delay. Yeah, right to the minute. I'm not talking about like being like 5 minutes off. I'm talking about like literally like, nope, boom, 5 o'clock, grand entrance, you know, whatever, boom, you know.
Yeah, it's super
like
rare.
4 o'clock, boom, right on time. Ceremony starts, like everything, literally to the minute. Like,
never seen that. Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't seen that.
I have, but it's rare.
Yeah,
and it's because typically because you've hired the best, you have a really good team, you have a day of coordinator,
but then you're also on point.
Yes.
Even if you have all of that, you yourself also
the couple
have to be aware.
has to be participating in that sense. Yeah. If they want to be on time, they got to be ready for it. So, you know, and the thing is, I think also I want people to know with timelines is, you know, if you put so much pressure on yourself, it could ruin your day. Like, if you're so worried about it, and that's why I want people to know, like, it's okay. Like, things get pushed back, times change, it's fine. You know, you just don't want to let things get too out of control. But again, there's things you can do to mitigate that. So, if we, the other thing I'll put in there is if we have games. If we have games like entertainment,
it's usually right before open dance.
Right before open dance, so that can eat up time. But that's usually ran by your DJ or MC. So it's going to be there's not going to be any delays with that. The games are just going to run as long as they run.
Right.
And if we're doing, like, we usually give about 10 minutes per game, and that's all it takes.
Right.
So if you have 3 games, you can allot 30 minutes, but that's going to eat into your open dance time.
Yeah.
So, and then we have the end of the night. You could choose the last song of the night for your guests. Sometimes we have a private last dance.
Yeah.
So we kick all the guests out, and it's just the couple. They do a private last dance. We're going to have to end. You're going to want to end your event 10 to 15 minutes early, though, to get all the guests out so we can
do the private.
So we can do that.
Private last dance,
yeah. And then lastly, you might have a grand exit at the end. So that's after the last song plays, music is off. You go to the front of the building or whatever it is, or front entrance, and you and your guests do sparklers or lights or whatever. Yeah.
I'm seeing that way less.
Way less.
I don't think I've seen that.
Grand exits, way less.
I don't think I've seen that last year or two.
No. Not as much.
Yeah.
Not as much. People are, I think, just as of lately are just ready to go home.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. They're just like, yeah, we're done. We're tired.
I think partially also about that is because there's not as many guests by the end of the night as there is for the grand entrance. So
definitely not. Like, by the end of the night, we're typically losing, what would you say, like 60% guests, 70% of guests?
60 or 70, yeah.
We're down to like 20%, 30%. So if you start with 100, we have 20 to 30. Maybe 40 people left.
About 2-3 tables of people.
Sometimes half.
Yeah, sometimes half.
Like at the we're talking about all the way till the very end.
Yeah. Like maybe 2 or 3 tables worth of people are left at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Roughly around there.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to add about just general timeline stuff?
Timelines or guidelines. That's really it. Really have to. You don't have to. Don't stress about it. I think that's the biggest thing is don't stress yourself out too much about it. unless you start like an hour and a half late. Then,
Yeah,
then
no
you might have an
extreme.
issue, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
if
if
it's
you're
an
starting
extreme,
extreme,
if you're extremely late,
you
then
really better hope you have a good team to
Yeah.
like try and get everything done,
yeah, but
or because
don't
it's not going to happen.
yeah, but don't like stress out on like the time of like it has to start at this time.
Yeah. Oh no, what time is it? What time? You know, when
Yeah.
couples are asking, oh, what time is it? What time is it? It's like it's like we're fine. Like we're okay. Like we're okay. I would let you know. I would let you know if I thought there was a problem.
If there's a concern, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a good DJ coordinator, day
Yeah.
of person, they'll let you know if it's
They'll let you know.
you're worried about.
Yeah. And then
Otherwise, just try to live in the moment.
yeah, try to live in the moment. Yeah, the timeline definitely definitely a guideline, and I think the last thing I'll add is if you find yourself in that horrible scenario of like ceremony started an hour late because of whatever reason, let's go real crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll just give one example before we close this out is officiant doesn't shows up an hour late.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about this, man.
Yeah.
You can't do the ceremony without the officiant. So officiant's an hour late.
Your DJ's an hour late.
Whatever it is.
Whoever it is that's
whatever
out
it
of your
is.
control.
Yeah, that you really need to be there.
Yeah.
I've had grandma 30 minutes late, 40 minutes late,
Yeah.
stuck in traffic. So I mean, it's bad news, but
I've had couples arrive 30 minutes late
that too.
and not
Stuck in traffic, whatever. Yeah.
not show up dressed.
Or hair and
still
makeup
have to-
took
hair
a long
makeup
time at the
takes
hotel.
whatever. Yeah.
All these things, right? So the last thing I'll say is if you find yourself in that horrible situation, which it sucks, it does suck. I feel bad for couples.
Yeah.
Is you can cut things out.
Yes.
You don't have to do everything on your timeline.
Yeah.
If you want to move speeches to during dinner,
Yeah. Saves
like
time.
there are hacks for this.
Yeah.
Cut the cake during dinner. Move speeches up. Do them during dinner.
Yeah.
Like take
it all
out the
during
parent
dinner.
dances. Take out the honeymoon dance. Like just start chopping down.
Yeah.
Like figure it out because we have had weddings where we've gotten really far behind.
Yeah.
But we've rescued them by just cutting things out, pushing things
Moving
up
things
on the
forward,
timeline.
taking less time on them. Yeah.
Again, you have to have a good team.
And really the only reason for that is if you really want a lot of open dancing time. That's really what you're trying to salvage at the end.
That's it.
You can still do all of it.
Yeah, you can still
Just
do all
have
of it.
less
You just
of
won't
the
have any
dancing.
open dance time if you're severely behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Any last thoughts? Anything else?
I think we kind of covered everything on the timeline that I can think of.
All right, perfect.
It's the standard
Deal.
timeline.
Yeah.
Everyone will do it differently.
So if anybody has questions, please leave a comment below wherever you're watching this. If you're on Spotify or YouTube, you can leave comments. This podcast also is on Amazon Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts. So you kind of watch or listen to this anywhere. But we definitely want to know what questions you guys have, and especially for the couples that are planning their own wedding that don't have a day of coordinator or a planner to explain things. We are definitely looking for what you guys want to know about as we build out this podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for watching. Again, please subscribe and thank you guys so much.